Hey guys, today I'm actually going through some trail cam pictures. I went and checked some cameras today and just building an inventory to kind of see what we got this fall and what our hit listers are going to be. So with that being said, I was kind of share with you what deer we got to hunt this year and who's on our hit list, who's number one and stuff, so you guys can get a little bit of background of it, so when the deer season does start, you kind of already have an idea, you know, if we do have an encounter with one of these deer, who they are and what kind of history we have. The first deer I'm going to talk about is turkeyfoot. Now, turkeyfoot is the oldest deer that we have pictures of by far. He's at least 8.5 years old. The first time I ever seen him was in 2016. I was actually filming for a guy at the time who had a show on Carbon TV, and he was on our farm hunting, and we were sitting there in the blind, and in 2016 was a terrible rut because it was hot and they were actually rutting at night. Our game cameras were showing, you know, bucks were chasing does of a night, and then during the day it was just dead. There was like nothing. And usually it's about 50-50. But that year it was just hot. I mean, I'm talking like 80 degrees. And it shut them down during the day, but they'd rut during the night. We were just kind of sitting there, and we'd seen a couple does, and I thought I heard a grunt, and I kind of thought my mind was playing tricks on me, and I looked, and this buck runs across the top of the hill through the field, and I knew it was a big-bodied deer because he's one of those deer, you've seen him, and he looked like an Angus bull out there. I mean, he was a gigantic-bodied deer at the time. And I knew right then, I thought, well, that's a shooter, you know. I told the guy, the host of the show, I was like, hey, there's a big buck that just ran across up there. Like, he just went by so fast that I didn't get an opportunity to even get prepared or anything for him. So a few days goes by, and his editor was actually filming my brother, and they're in the blind, and they had the doe decoy out, and my dad was down the field in another stand filming a second angle because you could see the ground blind from the buddy stand we had set up. And the reason we had two stands was because I think we just put that ground blind up for videoing, and then the buddy stand was kind of a pain to video out of. So Dad was actually hunting in the buddy stand, and this buck comes out in front of him. He's like 20 yards for like 5 to 6 minutes, just standing there staring at that doe decoy, and eventually he just kind of turns around and walks off, you know. And man, that has killed my dad ever since that day. He's been wanting to kill that deer ever since then, and rightfully so. But in 2017 we got pictures of him that summer, and then they'd collared him. The Missouri Department of Conservation had trapped him and put a radio collar on him for, you know, whatever kind of testings they're doing. But so that really made us want to shoot him even more, because it'd be kind of cool to shoot a buck that's collared, and they encourage people to really to harvest them so they can get the data. And but in 2017 we never seen him in person. We saw all kinds of other bucks we had, but not him. He wasn't there. And then 2018, then our camera started blowing up with him. He was there all the time. He was running the show. You could tell he was the dominant deer. And he was there an awful lot in daylight. And there was a few times, if we'd have been in the stand, he'd have been a dead deer. But he was so unpredictable. One night he'd be there, and then we'd calculate, all right, it was this temperature. This was what the moon phase was. And with these mature deer like that, you got to take everything in consideration and use that and make a mental note or write it down or whatever, that, hey, you know, he was there in this field at this time with this wind, and we need to be in that stand because that's when he was there. Well, we tried, and he was just so unpredictable. He'd be there when it was warm in the middle of the day. He'd be there, you know, when you most expect him to be there. And we set the stand because, you know, we were on the southern edge of the field, and when there was a north wind, he'd be out there. Well, we'd go in, he wasn't there. Well, this last winter, we decided we're going to go do some shed hunting, and we went over there and started doing some shed hunting, and we found a shed really close to where we were coming in at. So we figured out, oh, we were making a mistake. We were actually probably walking by him going to the stand. And because on camera, he looked like he was coming from the opposite direction, but I think what he was doing, he was making a circle around the back edge of the fence line and then popping into the field. So it made him look like he was coming in from the east instead of the west. Because most of the deer were coming from the east and the north, so we were coming from the southwest going in. Well, he was bedded right in there, and that's where we found his shed, really close to where the stand was. And so in 2018 also, Dad had an encounter with him. They were in the stand, and my dad's cousin was filming him, and they heard a buck just growling there in the timber, just roaring. And he come out behind him, and he kind of turned and just went back south. So yeah, it's a turkey foot's number one. I mean, that is a deer that really needs to be shot, because I really would like to see if the Missouri Department of Conservation will actually give us any kind of data at all on him, where he's been. You know, I'm just curious, you know, just to see, because he changes. He was so unpredictable. So it'd be kind of cool to see what his patterns were and stuff. So yeah, but that's turkey foot. So the next deer I'm going to talk about here is a buck I call Hightower. He's a real tall 8-point. I don't have a lot of history with him. The first time I actually ever got pictures of him was last summer. He actually had a third beam coming off his right side, and I was hoping he was going to keep. I was really wanting to shoot him this last fall, because he was just such a cool deer, and he would be cool to mount. I mean, I just love those unique looking deer. And I just want to kill him so bad. Well, we never did see him. I think what was going on there was turkey foot was kind of running him around, keeping him out of keeping him away and stuff. So, but this year we got pictures of him, and he lost his third beam. So that's kind of a bummer in some sense. But he's a really good deer. I'd be happy to kill him. I mean, any of these deer I'm going to talk about, I'll be happy to harvest them. But man, he's just a unique deer. And this farm, for some reason, is prone for big 8-points. I just don't know why. That gene pool is just full of, you know, big 8-point frames. I mean, we had a buck that I called Mr. T. He was a big 8-point, and he had 2 stickers off both G2s, but he was a mainframe 8-point. He scored 174. The neighbor actually shot him during the rifle season, which was kind of a bummer, because he was starting to be like turkey foot. He was starting to show up in daylight more and more and be more prone on camera. And then, you know, and actually the Mr. T come in behind my dad and my mom when they were in the blind and was wheezing, raking the lead or pawing the ground and stuff, but because the decoy was out, but he wouldn't come to it. But so yeah, but Hightower is definitely a deer that is kind of on my personal hit list. Out of all of them, I'd really like to shoot him. But yeah, so the next deer we're going to talk about is a wide 8-pointer. I don't have a nickname for him yet, and yeah, he's another 8-pointer. He's not going to. I mean, none of these deer are going to score a lot, but that doesn't really matter to me. This buck, I don't really have a lot of history with him at all. I think I may have had an encounter with him last year. I was in the stand, and it was going on about 11 o'clock. I hadn't seen a deer all morning. And in this stand, it's either you see deer, you see a bunch of deer, or you don't see anything at all. For some reason, it's a real hit and miss spot. But I had my camera gear packed up. I was lowering my bow down. Or no, I had my camera gear packed up, and I was getting ready to lower my bow down. And I heard something, and I looked, and this big 8-point, this wide 8-pointer was standing up on the hill from me, looking. And I thought, oh crap, I knew right then I screwed up. I'm like, well, there goes that opportunity. I just blew it. So he didn't snort or nothing. He just kind of turned and trotted off. I don't think he knew quite what I was. He just wasn't comfortable being there. And he just kind of walked off. That's all I've seen of him. And he may have been a deer that me and the guy that I was with when we first saw turkey foot in the blind, he may have been a deer that come into his decoy. He was only probably 3.5 years old, but he has the same frame, that same look to him. I wouldn't be shocked at all if that wasn't him. If that's him, he's a 5.5-year-old, or 4.5-year, or not 4.5, 6.5-year-old. But I don't think he's that old. He might be, I guess. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's a good deer. I'm going to shoot him, but but yeah, he's a really good deer. But another deer we're going to talk about is a real wide 9-pointer, and I don't have a nickname for him either. If you guys have nicknames for any of these other 2 deer I'm talking about, leave them in the comments below. It'd help me out quite a bit because I've been trying to wrap my mind around what I'm going to call these deer. But he's a real wide 9-point, and I have zero history with this deer. I don't even know where he came from, don't know who he is. I'm sure once the velvet starts shedding and they start getting aggressive with one another, I'm sure he's probably going to leave the area. That's usually what typically happens with new deer that show up. They end up just kind of, the older deer kind of push them away. I'd say he's 4.5. I would like to see him hit 5, but it's one of those deals. If you're in the stand and you see this deer coming to you in the woods, you're going to think he's a giant. I mean, he's just got one of those frames, and I would probably make the mistake by shooting him. I would be happy if I did shoot him, but then another part of me would be kind of disappointed because, you know, I would have liked to seen what he'd be in another few years. But you got to think too, where I hunt, there's a lot of rifle hunting pressure around, and during the rut, these bucks roam a lot. For some reason in this area, I mean, they go, you know, way out there, and the neighbors end up killing them. So, you know, I kind of got to keep that in my mind too. But like I said, if he comes in, I'm probably going to shoot him, and I'd be happy with him. So, yeah, but that's the deer I got on camera. Those are the 4 bucks that's on our farm. I'm really excited to see what this fall is going to bring for us. So far this summer, I haven't been able to put hardly any cameras out because we get rain after rain after rain. The creeks get up, and then it gets extremely muddy, and it's hard to get in anywhere. And you know, and I like to keep my human presence, you know, slim to none, like you should. But I do like to run cameras too, and see what's still there and what shed their velvet first. And that 9-pointer, he's probably getting ready to shed if he hasn't already shed his velvet. I mean, he was already turning white, and that's usually a telltale sign that they're about ready to lose it. So yeah, but anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I just wanted to kind of give you a background on these deer, so this fall, if we do have an encounter with them, and we talk about turkey foot or hightail or any of these other deer, you'll know what I'm talking about, and you'll kind of already have kind of a little background info on them. But so yeah, but anyways, guys, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, go and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and I'd greatly appreciate it, and leave a comment. I love seeing the comments. And yeah, so guys, 2019 fall archery season is about ready to get here, and I'm getting excited for it. We got about 2.5, 3 weeks maybe until it starts, and but dove season does start this coming Sunday, so I'm happy about that too. So, all right, guys, I'll see you at the next one, and good luck this fall, guys.